welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Judy, and today I'm going to be working on Close to My Heart's Slimline Celebration bundle. And what they do is they send you all these things together. Oh my gosh, there's so much in this. It's wonderful. It's the cutest ever for Slimline cards. So this is one of the stamp sets you get with little fishies. I'll put a close-up on the screen. And you get the thin cuts that go with it. And then you have gnomes with thin cuts too. And then cute little critters and their thin cuts. And then you get a bunch of sentiments, and you get 2 sheets of sentiments. One for up and down cards, you know, and then one for vertical cards or horizontal, okay? And then they give you directions to make a bunch of awesome cards. And of course you can use them or you can make your own. So I'm going to be putting these together, and then I will make some of my own design. So just wanted to show that. So the first thing you're going to do is get all your stuff together, and this tells you everything you need and then how to cut it. And these directions are online, available to anyone. You can go on my website and download them, so you have an idea of how to cut things. You may not order the thin cuts, you may not order one of the stamp sets, you know, but you can still use this design for what you have in your stash. So always, you know, directions are there for anyone to use. So it shows exactly how to do it, what to color it, you know, step by step exactly how they have it. I'm going to go ahead and cut these off camera, and then I'll come back and show you all the pieces I have and put it together. Okay, this is card number 1. It's a really cute little fishy card that says thinking of you, and they also suggest that sentiment for the inside. So, you know, we're going to make it as they suggested. And I already have a bunch of fish that I colored while I was at a horse show, so those are ones that I have done, but I'm going to color them as they suggested so that you can see that. And I will do that close up. And the markers that they suggested was the coral, blue turquoise, and dull green. So that's what I'm going to do. And these fish you can color and shade, or you can just color without any shading, because the tri-blend markers are just that fabulous. And I usually do the outline, and then I can go inside a lot quicker. So that's one color. And the other color for his tail. And then they do the dull green for his face, his fin. And this portion. So if you want to shade it, then you would just take your medium color and just add another stripe of color to the outline or wherever you think there might be some shading. All right, I'm going to do his fin dark. And then I'll go back with the lightest color, and I will blend the two together where they met, just to blend that line in, and see how that adds a little shading. And now the blue I could have done, but now that it's dry, it's not going to blend as well, so I'm going to leave the blue as it is. So move on to this one, and this one is colored with the coral, and it looks like his whole body is done except for his eye. So I'm just going to go around the whole outline. This will provide me with a careful outline, and I won't have to worry about going outside the line. And if I do, it's all right. It's a light color, so it won't be as noticeable. If it were a dark color and you went outside the line, then you could always use the blender to, actually, you should call it an eraser, because it really takes away color. It doesn't blend them. So now I'll go through the whole thing, and I don't have to get close to the outline, so I'm okay with doing it quickly without worrying about going outside the line. And now I will use some of the shading. I'll go to the medium color. just go around. And you don't really, you know, if you want to pay attention to where you think the light might hit, you can as a more advanced colorist. But I think it just adds some nice definition and interest to the piece when you just add some different colors. And it doesn't have to be anything, you know, advanced. Just adding it will make the fish look more realistic. And then you go back with your lightest color along the lines where they meet and blend it in. And it will get rid of any lines that might look more pronounced. Okay, so he is done. We're going to add some, it looks like they've got some blue around his eye. So I'll go with the light one. And these tips are pretty fine. But if yours, you know, if you've used a lot and it gets a little smushed, just go with little dots around. And that usually will fill it in very well. So he is done. So we'll go to our Seahorse. And we're going to use the green, and it looks like the whole thing is colored in green. And again, I go do the outline, and then I will add some shading. Yeah, he is done. And we'll go to this fish. And they did some of the triangle diamonds in a different color. So this is one where you're going to take a little more time to do it precisely. So I'm going to go ahead and do the fins in the coral, his face in the coral. Okay, now we're going to just color in some of the diamonds with this. And it doesn't matter which ones, you can just, you know, color them in as you want. I'm going to try and do his belly with the lighter colors. Because, you know, for whatever reason, fish's bellies are usually a lighter color. Alright. So now I'm going to go to the medium and add some of my shading. And then add some of the darker to these diamonds. And now we'll go to the darkest one and add some more shading to its fins. Now before I color in any of the diamonds, I'm going to go back with my lightest color and blend, because I don't want it to dry too much before I blend, or it won't be as nice as a blend. Now I'll go back with the dark and do some more of the diamonds. So I did the light ones, the medium ones, and then up to the dark. And now we're going to move on to the blue, and I'm going to do the lightest blue down here. And then I'll move on to the darkest, or the medium. And then to the darkest. This is just the suggested coloring. It's not something you have to follow. You can color however you would like. So that looks kind of cool though. We have to do the seaweed and the sign. And they suggested using the lightest earth brown. And we're going to go around the outside of our sign. and then underline the U. That's easy enough. And then the avocado seaweed, we're going to use the dull green, and they say to color it with the middle dull green, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm not sure exactly, and the coloring, I didn't really see where it looked like they had colored much, so I'm just going to do what I think they would do. And I'm going to go back and blend this a little bit with the lightest color. Close to My Heart does do an online Facebook Live that takes you through this step by step in real time. So if you're interested in that, go to the Close to My Heart Facebook page and look for the Slimline collection video, and you can walk through it step by step. I do a very abbreviated video of it for my customers who might not want to spend hours watching that video, but they do a great job. I don't like to recreate the wheel and do it, you know, step by step. So those are how I'm coloring mine. So we are all colored on our pieces, and now we are going to put our card together. So this is the card base. The Slimline cards are, let me see, 8.5 by 3.5 is the size of the Slimline. And the indented side of the card, where it is scored, that goes like a valley, is what you want to fold up. Okay, it's not the other way. You'd think it'd be the other way, but it's not. It helps to keep the paper from breaking or having any kind of frayed edges, especially for a colored card or a heavier cardstock that you may fold. Okay, so that is that. The next thing we're going to do is put the lagoon down. Now, they didn't call for any inking or anything. However, you know me, I do like to ink my edges, so I'm going to pull out a dauber. But I used the glacier to ink the edges on the glacier, and I did lagoon on that one. And I just go around with my dauber, and I don't get a lot of ink on it, because otherwise you're going to get a ton of shading. If you want a ton of shading, then go for it. But I'd like to have just the white covered and just a little bit of shading, so it gives it some dimension. Okay, now I'm going to use my glue and attach this down. And they do tell you which side of the paper to put down. There is a dark side and a light side. So if you want to pay attention to that, go ahead. I don't think it really matters, but you know, you can. I don't know if you noticed, I slid my paper there because I had a lot of glue here, so I slid it along the base to get it spread out a little bit more. Sometimes I'll fold the paper and rub it together, but I didn't for this one. I just spread it along the base because it's such a big piece. Use your bone folder to smooth it down, get a good adhesion. And then we're going to put this down, and we're going to go with the light color up, the light side up. And this is how I would do it if it were a smaller piece. I tend to bend it and just drag the glue down so that I don't get glue seepage, or not as much. I still get some sometimes. And then lay that down, and the liquid glue will give you just a second of time to wiggle it around to see if you can get it straight, because I don't always get it straight. And we're going to smooth that down. Okay, so our base is done. Now we are going to go to our circles, and I cut these out with the double-sided tape on the back so that I just have to peel and stick, because sometimes with these thin pieces it's hard to stick it down with glue. So I use double-sided layers of tape. And I'm going to just pull these up. It has the little pieces from the thin cut are still in there and I need to remove them. So I will do that. And then we have to measure where our seaweed is going to be to get that cut so it peeks through the circle. They actually look like little bubbles in water, right? I guess that's going to stay attached. We'll see if the rest of these do. It's a little bit of finagling here. Oops. We'll just cover that up where the paper ripped. I would be taking a lot more care if I weren't doing this on video. So we're going to have one here. Now that all the pieces are down, we're going to attach some of the little pieces back in, and you save these from one of the other cards. And only doing a few of them adds more interest to your card. So there you go. Now these have the double-sided tape on them as well, so we'll just peel those off and stick them down. Now we're going to put our fish on. And we will use some foam adhesive. And this is where if you have any paper tears or mistakes or glue showing through, you can cover them up. It's always a good thing. And we have that spot right there. That is a little paper tear, so I'll put him up there. This fish is going over here, so we have that one there, and we have one right here too. So I might be able to put him there. We have one there, so we'll put his fin there. And we just have the seahorse left. I love how these scissors cut through this foam adhesive like butter. And there is card number 1. Now, because I cut these out with my brother's Scan and Cut, the bubbles that were with him did not get cut out, these bubbles here. So what I'm going to do is use my liquid glass to add some bubbles. There it is. Liquid glass is dimensional adhesive. I can use it for glue. However, if you get any seepage, it will be shiny, so you have to be really careful when you use this. And I have a larger nozzle on this one, so you have to be very careful, but there are his bubbles. And I can add more for the other fish as well. And it's a super great glue. Like I said, you just have to be careful that any seepage will be shiny, and you don't always want that. So we got their bubbles. I don't know if a Seahorse has bubbles, but we'll add them. And we're also going to add some of the gems that come with the kit. Comes with these clear sparkles. And I like to use, they have glue dots underneath them, okay? So you need to slide underneath them to keep that glue dot with your gem. Otherwise, you could run the chance of popping the gem off of the glue dot, and then there will not be any adhesive on it. However, you can use it to adhere with the liquid glass or any other type of strong adhesive you may have. So we will add these on as some more bling. I'm going to put one on my side, because that kind of gives you something to draw your eye there. So there we go, card number 1. Very cute. I'm also going to add some more liquid glass. There are a couple circles on the fish, for one his little cheek here, and the dots on the Seahorse. And this is a very careful touch and pull. And we'll do his eye as well. All right, I will show you one that I made before, and I used some of the ones that I had colored with other colors, and the liquid glass is now dry and shiny. Okay, so very cute. And I was thinking about doing all the circles, but I didn't want to take the time, so I want to get the video done. But it is something I can do. I think I'm going to go back and do their eyes though. His eye and his cheek and the Seahorse. And sometimes if you use it over ink, it will change the color of ink, but I haven't seen that happen with the tri-blend markers yet. Moving on to card number 5, and it's another fish card, so I'm doing the fish cards first. And it has the glacier circle, and what you're going to do is trim it so that it's a shorter piece. So we will have to just carefully go along the circle. 1, whoops, and 2. This is a great way to make more use of your dies. Now you're going to need to cut this off, and you could do it with a of course, if I didn't have the adhesive on here, it would be a little easier. All right, I'm going to pull that sticky adhesive off. Maybe. All right. So you can go in there. You could, I was going to say you could do it with one of the cutting blades, you know, the X-Acto knife, if you don't feel secure doing it with your scissors. So there, that is trimmed, and that is going to be on your card base just like that. Then you're going to take your little green pieces and you're going to trim them, tear them. So if you tear the part that's in this hand, tearing this way, will have the white edge, okay? See the white edge there? And I'm going to do a little bit of a controlled tear. You want to make it look like the ocean floor. So there's that piece. And then this piece, you can see the light and the dark. I'm going to use the dark side. And they have it going at an angle like this. So that's what I'm going to do as well. Okay. So it'll be layered like this. And they did use the dull green marker to color along the base of this one to give it a little more dimension. you'll see all those lines disappear. There we go. Love, love, love those markers. So there we go. And I think maybe I'll do some of the light color on the front one as well, just to make it a little bit darker down here at the bottom. Nothing too much. Okay, so we're going to attach this down. We're going to attach just along the bottom here, because you want to be able to tuck that top one underneath it. And I could put this up on foam adhesive too. But I'll do the fish with the foam adhesive. Okay, so that one is good. Now this one I can put glue all over the back and tuck it underneath here. Okay, now we're going to use our seaweed. And where did my other seaweed go? There it is. Okay, now I wanted to mention, when you're stamping your seaweed, you want to use the smallest block you have. This is the only one I have that's big enough for this piece that I have right here with me. I was at an event and my blocks are all in storage right now. So I'm going to put it on the edge, and then I'm only going to stamp here. If I went here, I run the risk of getting ink somewhere on this. So I'm just going to ink the side. And because of this clear stamp, you can look through it and see that you have ink coverage. And I'm also going to put my white on something dark to stamp it so I can see through it. If I put it onto something white, I won't be able to see it as well to stamp on it, especially when you're doing a thin cut and it is, you know, you want to have it fit straight. So I put it on something that's black and it's much easier to see it. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp this. Okay, add some pressure, and there we go. It's a tip to stamping on white. Don't put it on a scrap piece of white, or even if you have it on the foam that comes with the stamp set. You can see it better if it's on the black. But being a small image like this, not having cushion is sometimes okay. You know, I get a good impression without the foam. Although I could have used the back side of my Versamat, which is a darker foam. Alright, we are at the point where we're going to color again. And we're going to do our seaweed. Now we're starting out with the white, so I'm going to go with the lightest shade and just fill it all in. Then I'll add the middle shade. I'll do the same side, which is the left side. I'll do it the left side on all of the leaves. And then I'll go back with the lighter shade and just go in between the two, where the two meet, and just go over it to blend. And that's all there is to it. Now these will be tucked down behind here. So I'll get the other two done, and I'll do the fish. And the fish is in the coral and green, and the big fish will be in the blue turquoise and green. Okay, So the little one looks like he's just striped in his body. So we'll color all of him. And then add the shading. And then go over it with the lightest one to blend it all together. I think I might add a little shading here on his chin. And then the rest is in the green, so we'll do the lightest color on his fins. And add a little shading with the mid-tone. And blend. And he's done. Now the big one is mostly the blue. So we'll start with the light shade. I think this is my favorite fish of all the fish in the collection. Add the highlight some of the gills and the scales with this one. Go through and blend. I'm not going to blend around his scales just to give it more of a definition. And then his fins, we'll do the green again. I'm going to do his eyelids. Add a little bit of the medium tone. And blend. I think his lips we're going to do with the coral. And he's done. All right, so I think you get the idea of how the coloring goes, so I'll skip the coloring in the future cards unless there's something I want to bring to your attention. And I'll put this together and then come back and show you what I have. Looks like they have a little extra stamping with the sentiment and the little school fish. So otherwise we're good. The gems. Yeah. We're going to color the gems with the coral marker, and I'm going to use the deepest color, and you just rub it on. It's really cool how it colors them and gives them a little highlight. I don't know if you can see the difference. It just adds a little bit of color to them, and I think we're going to do probably all six, these six that are here. All right, I wanted to get on and show you, these are the two finished cards that I had. Now that the liquid glass is dry, it looks really, really cool. I added some of the little stamp of the bubbles on this one. And I think it really added a lot. And then I also added a bunch of the liquid glass. And I added more, I was more liberal on the liquid glass here. But look at his eyes, they're so cool. So I'll put close-ups of this in the end of the video so you can see them. But I think I like this card. I like it a lot. Might be my favorite so far. This is the next card I'm going to be making, and it is this one here. Now, for whatever reason, I cut my shortbread too short. Kind of fitting. The shortbread is short, okay. But anyways, so to fix that, instead of cutting it even smaller, I just made a frame. We have a bunch of new Slimline Frames, and this is one that comes with some squares. But it's really cool. It cuts out a center, and then it cuts out this stitched frame. So I used some of our wood grain paper to make this, and I don't think it's available anymore. We have a new pack of wood grain paper. This is from last year's. So I'm going to go ahead and put this down, and I'm going to use the liquid glass because this will all be covered. And this was supposed to be the 8.5 by 3.5 size to cover the whole card. Isn't it funny how sometimes it, for whatever reason, you cut it wrong or it's a little too long? So I'm going to trim this. I got my Fiskars little trimmer here. Fiskars is a great company. If your trimmers ever break, they have a great customer service and they will replace them. I'm just going to trim that edge off because it's just a little bit too long for whatever reason, right? It's too short and it's too wide. Okay, so now I'm going to put this down, and I'm going to try to put this down and then lay the card on top of it like that. So I'm going to use the espresso to ink my edges because there's just a little bit showing and I don't want it to show. You can see. So if you cover it with some ink, it will make it blend in a little bit better. And I could use the charcoal gray, but because some of the critters that are going to be on here are brown, I thought brown would be okay. Now I'll open it up so I don't get any ink on that part of the card. The next thing is to put this on, and again, you want to have good adhesive. And I die cut these before I used the double-sided tape, so these need to be glued. And this is one that you really need to move fast on. The liquid glass takes a while to dry, but in very thin layers like you need on this card, it does go really fast. And I probably should use some scrap paper under this. I'm going to basically try to get the outside edges of the circles. If the outside edges are held down, the inside will pretty well be adhered to, because there's going to be other things on top of it. And this, because I didn't put any in the middle, I can also use it to grab. And I already colored my pieces, so we didn't have to see that again. I think you pretty well know what it looks like when I color. Alright, so I brought out the inlay pieces, I'm going to do a mix of colors. Right, that looks pretty good. Came out really nice. It's a pretty little card. It's a fun card, right? Okay, this is card 3, and it's a cute little card. And what it has is some strips of paper glued onto your base with a white layer on top with the stars adhered to it and then trimmed. And then layer all your little critters on top. So that's a fun one. I'm again didn't cut my strips correctly, so I'm going to improvise, and you'll see how I do that. So the first one I'm going to adhere down is this pink one. This is our new wild berry. Let's see, that's both dark. All right, so this is the side I want to adhere. And I'm going to do one light and one dark. So we're leaving just a strip of paper in between. And let me look. It looks about the same amount of room in between each one. So I'm going to cut myself a template strip to make sure my space in between all of my layers is the exact same. It just makes the card look more professional. And this is going to be maybe a 1/16 of an inch. Okay. We're going to put a little bit of glue on here to make it sticky. I'll use my Zig. This is what we used to have. Now we have the Quickie glue pens. And what this does is you put it on, let it dry, and then it is removable adhesive. I'm going to do it on some scrap paper. And you'll let this dry. All right, I think it's pretty dry now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lay this in between my layers. And now we'll glue this one down. the mint cardstock I cut wrong, so I had to finagle some pieces. And these are just 1 inch by 1/2 inch, so they are only going to be shown on the edges, so that's all I need to do. Oh, did you notice what I did? That's the dark and that's the light. That's all right. Whoever gets this, if they notice it, I'll give them a prize. How that happened, I have no idea. I do have some grass I can put here. So that'll help disguise that uneven pieces. And then he's going to go right here, so he'll cover up the break. All right, so that's basically what that looks like. So we're going to get these glued down to here. So we only have to do the bottom portion. Oh, and this has the sticky stuff on it, good. So no gluing needed. I'm going to ink the edges a little bit. Looks like they pulled out some stars that were the Inlay Stars. So let's see if I can find some of those. Okay, when you're doing stars like I just did, what I do is I put the liquid adhesive or the dimensional adhesive in the middle, and then I will drag it out without pressing anymore to come out of the bottle. If I need more, I will put it into the middle or put another dab in the middle and then spread it out to the points. Because inevitably I would get a glob at the point, and that's not where I want it. Okay, I see some air bubbles in this happy birthday. I'm going to try and pop them. Yeah, I think I got them. All right, that's better. Because the air bubbles will dry in there and it just looks like an air bubble. So, if I don't have to have an air bubble, I don't want one. So they came out really cute. I like the addition of the grass to cover up that mistake. It was a happy thing. I still can tell here, but I don't think anyone else would besides you and me, right? All right, and on to the next one. Okay, project 4 is this one with the little gnomes, and it's got a toffee background with the peach circles, and we'll put some white inlay on it. So this one's pretty simple, it's straightforward. I don't think there'll be anything new that you haven't seen before, so I will come back and show you the finished cards when I get them done. Okay, I am going to ink the outside edge of this piece though. This would look really good with that wood border as well, but I'm going to make it like they have it, and then I will make some cards on my own that may have those wood borders. I really liked how that turned out. All right, I finished the card and I wanted to get in and show you. It's really, really cute. We did some more of the inlay with the white pieces. Did the shading here and just highlighted the U. I put liquid glass on some of the pieces. I'm going to see if I can get that to show. We did it on the wheelbarrow. There, you can see the shine. Okay, and I went ahead and did the last card. Which is this one. And I again added the grass because I really like how it looks. These scene cards need to have grass on them. And I have the little watering can that is got liquid glass on it, and his little belt and his shoes or his boots, and then I colored the gems with the green. So it's a really cute card, and this one's basically the same. I added an extra bird. All right. This was a huge kit, and I'm sorry this video is so long, but you know, making 12 cards. Yeah, there were 6 cards, 2 of each. It's just took a while, but I also wanted to mention that you do get the cardstock to come with it, all the colors you need to make this whole kit. Okay, everything is included in the bundle, and I really hope you enjoy it. I had a lot of fun making these. I haven't done the inside sentiments yet. That's the only thing I have left to do. But look at the happy birthday on there that shows, and on the dots on the mushrooms. The liquid glass really adds a cute look. I'm not sure which one I like the most. I really like them a lot. This one I added the owl on. It just adds a nice touch with the liquid glass. Yeah, but I think I do like this fish one the best. He's just so cute. And the gems add a lot. The liquid glass on that seaweed is so cool. Let's see, you can see it. All right. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and share my videos. I'd really appreciate it. And subscribe and hit that notification bell so you know when I post new videos. And I will have close-up photos of these at the end. Have a great day.